Okay, so here is just kind of like a mini little recorded lesson for social studies this week. We're starting with this first concept for this week's lessons, which is individual action. Okay, this idea that only individuals think, act, and feel. Right? If we just sit and think for a little bit, we intuitively know that that's true. Right? So it's really actually quite absurd to say. Oh, country A went to war with country B, or Germany produces nice cars, right? Now, the country of Germany does have automobile manufacturing plants, but there's only probably maybe 1,000 or so employees at that factory who actually do the work to produce those automobiles. The vast majority of Germans aren't involved in producing automobiles. So it's incorrect, it's inaccurate to say Germany produces fine automobiles, or China produces cheap electronics, right? That would be another version. I've heard that I don't know how many times, and that's really kind of false on a number of accounts. One is, first of all, it's an opinion, right? Second of all, there may be maybe one small electronic company that manufactures cheap electronics. They use cheap resources and produce electronics that break easily. Whatever. That can be the case, right? That's fine. But to say that the largest country in the world with the largest population is responsible for that's not fair to the billions of individuals that have nothing to do with producing those electronics. So that's why it's really important that we distinguish between the individual and groups of individuals. Okay, so let's watch Bob and what he has to say.
Last time on Common Sense Soapbox, Bob was being an idiot in Antarctica, and then he fell through the ice and was frozen for hundreds of years to awake in the future, and I guess there's a penguin as well, basically. Now for episode 2 of Common Sense Soapbox, Bob to the future! I could swear I just saw a 30-foot-tall statue of Seamus.
Well, yeah, you did.
What? Why does he get a statue?
Oh, I think he made a bunch of educational cartoons for some group in the 21st century and managed to squeeze the statue into his contract.
Oh my gosh, this is my worst nightmare.
Actually...
Don't think I don't know what's going on here. The only way you can have a future this utopian is if there's some kind of catch.
Okay, so he says the only way you can have this type of future, or this type of utopian future. So utopian or utopia is this word that means an ideal society, or the closest approximation of perfect, or the closest thing to perfect society, right? And often we're going to find that's inaccurate to think of that way, because people have different ideas of what the perfect society would be, or what the ideal society should look like. So we're gonna find that it's really important that we are most concerned with how individuals act and feel, and that they have the most amount of freedom to pursue what they want to pursue. Because if we only have a certain number of people in charge of governments that seek to make society the way that they think that it should be, that might please millions of people. They're like, yeah, that's what I want. But then there's an equal amount, if not more, that say that's not at all what I want society to look like. So it's kind of a misleading concept, this idea of utopia, or this ideal or perfect society.
Soylent Green is paper!
He's delirious.
Come on, Bob. Let's get you into the medical center.
Soylent Green is paper!
Bob! Shh. Turning people into food sounds like something a more primitive society would do. It's not like we have a utopia, but the reason we're so well off is just because we figured out how to treat each other better. Human and mutant.
Yeah.
For example, this is going to sound pretty simple, but here's one thing we realized. Only individual people act.
What?
I mean, think about it. Groups are just a bunch of people acting side by side toward the same goal. Look at everyone around us. They're part of a group.
Oh, so what you're saying is it's not the hospital that's about to take care of me. It's the doctors and nurses themselves.
Right. They're all still making their own decision.
Okay, so that's a perfect example, right? We often, the way that we say things sometimes is misleading and we don't even realize it. But when you say, oh yeah, I went to the hospital, they fixed me right up, or I took my car to the car shop and car shop got it right, got it taken care of. Again, that's misleading because obviously the hospital, it's not its own entity. It's made up of hundreds of individuals working together. So you went and one or two doctors and several nurses helped take care of you, right? They chose to make the decision of getting a job there, getting all that training and working at a hospital to take care of people. Same with the mechanic, right? They chose to get the training and work at that specific car shop, and there's maybe one or two mechanics that actually fixed your car. So that's why it's important.
Even though they share the goal of healing people and making them feel better.
Exam room 6.
We're all individuals, Bob. We all make decisions based on our own preferences and values. And when we act, we're all looking to improve our lives and get more of what we value based entirely on our own preferences.
Okay, so basically what that means is that all the decisions that we make, and we make thousands of them every day, we're choosing to take action to better our lives. We do this all the time, right? We feel hungry, we choose to act in a way that gets us food, and we feel satisfied. Anything that we do, even if it's something that we don't particularly like, but we think and know or trust that doing that will eventually get us closer to what we actually want. So, for instance, sitting through this video, listening to Mr. Otterness drone on and on and on about economics, you're probably doing it because, well, I got to do it for school, and if I don't, then I'm going to get grounded, and then I'll have less time to do what I actually want to do. So you're still making a conscious choice to act in a way that gets you toward what you want, what you desire, your preferences, what you value. That's what that means.
You're saying we're all just selfish? I knew this wasn't a utopia.
I keep telling you, it's not. But think about it this way. Imagine feeling dissatisfied by something in your life, like when you got sick of hearing Seamus talk about economics.
Don't get me started.
Well, when that happens, you start imagining a better alternative to whatever you're currently dealing with, right?
A life without economics lectures.
Yeah, so you took action in order to change conditions you weren't happy with and hopefully replace them with a situation you wanted more. Was that selfish?
No.
I don't think so either. And look, people make mistakes and their choices don't always work out the way they hope. Like going ice fishing in Antarctica and not telling anybody about it.
What kind of idiot would do that?
But they're still the only ones who can make those decisions. Back in your time, governments would just ignore individual people's values and try to make decisions for everybody. But that didn't work at all.
Well, did it work a little?
Nope. That's why we don't do it anymore. Now we spend our efforts just making sure people don't hurt each other or steal or do anything like that.
I guess I get what you... Hey, what are you doing? Hey! Whoa. I look so high-tech.
That's because you are. We found all kinds of new and awesome technologies to improve our...
You sound like a higher-pitched Seamus, but not that much higher-pitched, to be honest.
Yeah, but Bob, our society learned a long time ago that these ideas are super important, and getting a better understanding of economics is what allowed us to get to where we are today.
What do you mean?
The whole thing is about millions of individual people acting to better their own lives, not just abstract numbers like GDP. If we start there, we get a much better understanding of how economies actually work. And that way, we can make everyone better off.
Wait a second. I thought this was the future. You mean we still have to pay for healthcare?
Of course we do. How else would you deal with scarcity?
What?
Okay, so next episode they're going to deal with scarcity based on what they just talked about at the end of the video. But the idea is that only individuals act, think, and feel, right? And that's really important because there's always this desire for a lot of people to think, oh, well, if individuals are always trying to seek out ways to improve their life, why don't we come up with some sort of system that makes decisions for a large number of people, so that the most amount of people can improve their lives? We find that it's always problematic because it completely denies the reality that only individuals can act, think, and feel, and their preferences might change from any given moment. So that's not fair to a number of individuals. So yeah, it's important. What I want you to do now is I want you to submit at least one reply to this video and to each other about this idea of acting, right, as individuals. I want you to give me a couple of examples of how you have taken individual action, something where you don't like your situation, so you take action to improve the situation, and then explain how your situation was improved. It can be as simple as being hungry and then eating something, but don't use that example because that would be lazy. Find another example where you wanted to improve your situation. You took action as an individual and you improved it. Okay? All right.